Welcome to MensNet, sort of. My name is Mel Feit, and as you can probably see, I am not in the MensNet television studio. Actually, they closed our studio in 2011, and we have been out of production since. But I know we still have subscribers to this channel, so I thought I'd post a video just to let you know what we've been doing, and more importantly, what we're planning to do next. So let me just start by saying that even though MensNet has been out of production, the National Center for Men is still in existence, and although we are not nearly as visible as we used to be, we still run a counseling service that helps hundreds of men and their families every year. It is a unique and a valuable and an important service, and I'm proud of it, and that continues. So, having said that, we decided in 2018 that we wanted to try to get back on television, and so we accepted an invitation from Reuters, the news service that distributes videos to hundreds of television stations around the United States and internationally. And Reuters asked if they could video a discussion group that we have in Yorktown Heights, New York, which is where MensNet was taped. And they specifically asked if we would talk about how gender politics influences politics in general, which is an interesting topic, and we wanted to talk about it, so we told them to come on up, and they showed up with a reporter, producer, camera crew. For our part, we had all the old MensNet regulars there: Tony Nazzaro, Roy Barreca, Steve Metzger, Paula Young. We had some old NCM guys there and some new people. We had a couple of elected officials, including the former supervisor of Yorktown Township. We had liberals and conservatives in that room. Paula was on fire about presenting a feminist point of view. So we had an intense discussion. And we covered a lot of territory. We talked, for example, about what do liberal men do now? Seriously, I mean, if you're a progressive man, how do you vote? You can't vote for Democrats, I don't think. I think the Democratic Party has essentially become a political arm of the National Organization for Women. Can't vote for Republicans. Republicans are hostile to basic New Deal style progressive policies. What do? It's a problem. I'm not sure we found any good answers to that problem, but we did have a good discussion about it. We talked about whether it's ever okay to vote for a candidate simply because of the candidate's sex. I mean, can you decide you're voting only for women or for men? Does the gender of a public official make that much of a difference in the performance of the office? We talked about the Me Too movement and its effect on politics and relationships. And I think that I got Paula to concede that Me Too has hurt women as well as men. And we talked about the military draft. That's still relevant here. Tony is a Vietnam vet. He had some things to say about this, as did others. I think it's important for people to tell the truth about their own experiences. And then, if other people don't want to acknowledge that truth, that's their privilege. But I think each person should bear witness to his or her own truth. And so, for me, at least when I was growing up, the truth is that the only people in the United States who had the right to vote were women. I mean, I understand everyone thinks, obviously, men also had the right to vote. It's not true. I can tell you, as a young man, if I wanted the right to vote, I first had to register with Selective Service, which was a dangerous thing to do. Had I not registered with Selective Service, I would have been a convicted felon, or a fugitive from justice, or living in exile. I would not have been voting in U.S. elections. About 60,000 men of my generation never really got the right to vote because, they didn't make it out alive. So I think it's fair, and I think it's reasonable for men of my age to ask female candidates of our age, what did you do in the war? they ask that question of men all the time. It should be okay for us to ask it of women. What did you do in the war? Did you enlist? Because I mean, we could have. Did you protest against the war? Maybe you went to jail. Maybe you went to jail to try to protect men, to save men, to prevent them from being drafted. Maybe you even gave up your spot in college so that some man could have a desperately needed and potentially life-saving student deferment, which you did not need. Or maybe you fought for women's rights when men were being dragged off to die. What did you do in the war, Hillary Clinton? What did you do in the war, Elizabeth Warren? These are fair questions. We have a right to ask them, and we have a right to factor in the answers when we make our choices about who to vote for. So we had a provocative discussion. And when it was over, the Reuters producer came over to me, and he paid me what I think was the highest compliment he could have paid under the circumstances. He said, "You folks put on a very thoughtful presentation." And I knew then we were in trouble. I knew it. I could feel it. Thoughtful. The people who were in that room, we'd all had a lot of experience. Collectively, we had hundreds of television shows to our credit. We knew enough about how to put on a mostly edit-proof presentation. That is to say, you assume that the people who are recording you might want to edit you in a way that will make you look bad, so you don't give them that opportunity. You stay on message, focused, disciplined. We were rehearsed. We knew what we were doing. And I think we succeeded at giving them a mostly edit-proof presentation. But the Reuters folks outsmarted us. I mean, I have to say it. They did. They outsmarted us. They figured out the way to edit us was to edit out 100% of everything that we said, which is what they did. They didn't show any of it. Now, I don't know exactly what happened, but I kind of know I sort of know what happened. Something like this, okay? I think the people at Reuters were sitting around trying to figure out what to do, and someone must have said something like, "Why don't we video a bunch of men's rights guys talking about politics? Because they will reveal themselves to be desperately clinging to male privilege. They will look pathetic and foolish. It'll be great television. Everyone's going to want this." Only we didn't get the memo. So, we didn't know to play along. We didn't know to give them pathetic and foolish. So instead, we gave them thoughtful. We gave them smart. We gave them persuasive. I think some people might have been persuaded by what we had to say, and evidently Reuters didn't want that, so they didn't use any of it. It felt like content censorship in an extreme form, and coming from a news organization like Reuters, it was particularly disturbing. Now, I understand this topic of censorship in the media has been discussed a lot on YouTube. I understand that. But it's an important topic, so please allow me to add my voice. And what I'd like you to know, especially if you're new to the men's movement, if you're young, if you're just starting out, I'd like you to know how the climate that exists now is very different from the climate that existed when I started. I started to do serious mainstream television on men's rights in 1988, 32 years ago. But I remember what it was like. First of all, we didn't have email then, so I could actually get people on the telephone, talk to them. That was better. I remember what it was like to be driven in the car to do the Phil Donahue show for the first time. It felt unreal to me. And I was nervous as hell. I mean, I almost threw up. But I also recall that no one from the Donahue staff suggested to me what I could say or what I couldn't say. I chose my own words. And in fact, Donahue was broadcast live in a lot of markets, so the words that I said on his stage were in millions of American homes 6 seconds after I said them. No one could have edited me even if they'd wanted to, and they didn't. A few years later, I was doing a couple of Oprah Winfrey shows on subjects that she despised what I had to say. I knew that. She hated it. She didn't edit out a single word of it. Every single word that I said on her stage made it into the broadcast. Even as late as 2013, we were doing Dr. Phil shows back then. I wound up doing that 8 times. And they would sometimes edit that show for time and for pacing. And they often disagreed with what I had to say. But they were very careful when they edited me to make sure that the substance of my remarks remained intact. Everything important that I said on that stage, with just one exception, and I've actually written about this on the National Center for Men website, everything important that I said on that stage made it into the final cut and onto air. So this experience that we recently had with Reuters, this is very different from experiences that we've had previously with television talk show producers, and I do think it represents a dangerous trend that is potentially destructive of democratic values and ideals. And so here's what I would like to say about it. If you are an advocate of men's equal rights, you must first and foremost be an advocate of free speech. If you are an advocate of any progressive cause, you must first and foremost be an advocate of free speech. If you want to do work in your life that will help people on the outside, marginalized or oppressed people, if you want to help people who are homeless, who are sick, who are poor, live better lives, then you must first and foremost be an advocate of free speech. Because if you don't have the right to speak freely, and other people don't have a right to hear you, how will anything ever change? The idea that you can somehow build a progressive movement for greater tolerance by first being intolerant of what other people have to say, that just seems ridiculous. Progressive causes depend on free speech. And by free speech, I mean it's the speech that you find to be obnoxious and offensive and crude and vulgar and hateful. That's the speech you have to defend. I mean, I know it's tempting to think otherwise. Why would you hand a microphone to someone who wants to hurt other people? That, the microphone becomes a weapon then. So why would you hand a weapon to someone who wants to harm other people? That doesn't make sense. But then you have a problem. Who decides, and how exactly do you decide what is provocative speech that should be protected and hateful speech that should be censored? It seems like that might be a difficult thing to decide until you think about it, and then you realize not really. I mean, you can tell the person whose speech is hateful and who needs to be silenced, anyone who doesn't agree with you, which is why I think it's important not to make these distinctions and to embrace and protect all speech, including that which seems to be hateful. Some people say this is a First Amendment thing, a government thing. It doesn't apply to the rest of us. But the people who are responsible for defending our legal rights, judges, jurors, public officials, lawyers, they all live within the community. So if the rest of us don't cherish and value free speech, they won't either, and we will eventually lose our legal rights. And just one other thing on this topic, because I think this is interesting. Free speech contemplates that there will be free, creative, critical thought. You're supposed to think before you speak. And I think you should be encouraged to take the values and the ideals that all the rest of us hold as fundamentally true, and you should be encouraged to dissect them and analyze them and then tell all the rest of us why we're wrong. That's how societies move forward. I do believe everyone should choose words carefully and wisely so as to not incite violence and not to defame other people. But everyone, I think, should have the right to express deeply unpopular views without fear of reprisal, and we're clearly losing that right. Okay. What are we going to do about it? Well, we may knock on a few more television doors. Maybe we'll try to kick a few in. We'll see how that goes. But we're also doing something now that I want to tell you about because it's along the lines of what we did with MensNet, that is creating our own content. And we're actually now producing a documentary film about men's reproductive choice. So, the problem with our making a movie is, well, we don't know how to make a movie. I never made a movie before. So we are partnering with a British film production company that has a track record of making quality, commercially successful documentary films. They know about filmmaking. We know about men's rights. We're working together to make a film about men's reproductive choice. And what we'll be doing is showcasing the stories of men forced into fatherhood. Interesting, dramatic, compelling stories. And throughout the telling of these stories, we will be posing a question for our audience. And the question will be, should consent to sex also imply consent to procreation? Turns out that's a fairly complicated and also a pretty simple question to answer. Is consent to sex consent to procreation? I can tell you that of the filming we have done so far and the men that we have interviewed, all NCM clients, these men have been incredibly articulate. They have offered up very powerful personal testimony. I think that the film's director, Lisa Downs, is doing a fabulous job. I predict that she will be a celebrity within the men's movement. Now, I do know that if we somehow succeed in making the world's best ever documentary film, that when it comes time to distribute it, we will meet up with a wall of feminist opposition. I'm aware of this. But, we've met that wall before. In 2006, when we did Roe versus Wade for Men, which was our lawsuit, we anticipated meeting this wall. We calculated in advance how we were going to poke holes through it. And when we got through, the media were waiting for us on the other side. So let's see what happens now. Okay, what can you do to help? Well, if you're a man who's been forced into fatherhood and you want the whole world to know about your story, it's not too late. As I record this, we are in the midst of a global coronavirus pandemic. We're all kind of locked down and filming has been suspended, so it's not too late. If you have a story you want to talk about, call us up, let us know about it. Our phone number is on our website. The website is nationalcenterformen.org. That's National Center for Men, all spelled out, one word, .org. There's a link to our website on this YouTube channel. Call us up, tell us your story. If you do not have a personal story to tell, but you'd like to help, please consider making a donation now. This is a critical time for us as we attempt to weather the pandemic and then resume production of the film and then aggressively promote the film. So any donation that you make now will have maximum impact for the men's movement. If you'd like to donate, you go to the National Center for Men website, click on the donate button, choose an amount that's right for you. If you'd like to invest in our film, call us up. Let's talk about it. I'm going to post periodically updates on our website just to let you know the progress we're making. I'll tell you when we resume production. We'll put up some still photos and maybe some short video clips, and then I'll let you know when someday you might be able to stream the film or see it at a theater near you. All right. Just one other thing I want to mention before I end the video. I recently did a television show called Center Stage for a cable company called TV Asia. The reason I mention it is that I had a chance on this show to talk about the obstacles that men now face in employment and education. The statistics here are alarming. I mean, in some respects, it looks as if men are dropping out of productive society. And we really need to be talking a lot more about this. And there's an awful lot to talk about. And I had a chance to talk about it some on this show, Center Stage, TV Asia. If you have a chance, you might find it online, or it's on certain cable systems. And I have posted a short video clip of it on the National Center for Men website. So if you have a chance, you might check that out. In the meantime, while we're hibernating, if you'd like us to do more of this, which is, just set up a video camera and talk about issues that are of importance to you, that interest you, if this is something you'd like us to do more of, just let us know in the comments section of the video and tell us what subjects you'd like us to talk about, and we will do our best to accommodate you. Okay, I want to thank you for staying with us. Thank you for watching this video the whole way through. Thank you for donating should you choose to do that. It will be appreciated. It will be used wisely and productively. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Okay? That's it for now. This is Mel Feit. Stay safe. See you next time.